this podcast, we'll talk about law enforcement, social media, and just life. Today, however, I'm going to take a break from all the norm of what I've been talking about and just try to get us away from that hustle and bustle, the stuff we're listening to the news every day, all this stuff. I mean, I'm tired of hearing it. I know everybody else is tired of hearing it, so you don't need to hear me talk about it too. So right off the bat, I've got to apologize to YouTube if y'all can hear this fan that's beside me. I've checked it out on podcast. You can't hear it. Hope it doesn't translate onto YouTube. But it's over 100 degrees out here in my booth. My booth is actually in my shop in one of the corners. And man, I was sweating down earlier, so I had to get me a fan. So on that note, if anybody knows what kind of hookup I need to go from my camera to my system for podcast, I'd love to know what it is. I have looked, I have read. I'm still researching it because I actually have another piece of equipment that it's for my Behringer. When I do more than one person on here, I can hook in multiple mics. I can do up to 4 mics. But I haven't yet figured out which one I need to plug into to go to my camera. So you can get the same sound on YouTube as my podcast gets from a microphone. So if you happen to know, shoot me an email at smokeyuncuffed@gmail.com or go to my website at www.smokeyuncuffed.com. You can leave me an email on there too. And just tell me, hey, you need this cable. It hooks straight into the Behringer thing and we can go from there. So I'm going to keep this one lighter. First off the bat, I'm going to talk about a couple of things I've watched here recently on Netflix. If you haven't seen this deal with Zac Efron, it's worth a watch. I mean, it's not gold, but it's interesting. So what it is called, it's called Down to Earth. He travels the world with one of his buddies, and they try different foods at all the places, and just check out the cultures. I mean, I think the first one was in Switzerland or Iceland. I think it was in Iceland. And it's just interesting to see how the different parts of the world are working. It is like 8 episodes long. I think we watched 2 episodes a night for several days there, and we'd skip around, but it was interesting enough that I would recommend for you to watch it just because there's part of it that'll really open your eyes. So the next one I'll recommend, it's a little, I'm not going to say sci-fi, but it's a little different. It's called The Old Guard. It's with Charlize Theron, and it's about a group of warriors that fight for good that are immortal to a point. They reach a certain point in their life and they do die. One of them was like over 1,000 years old. It was an interesting enough that I would recommend it too, just because of the way it's set up. It's not the normal immortal stuff that you watch on TV. It just has some different twists. And they've actually left that one wide open for a sequel, which that will be interesting too because I'll definitely go back and watch it. And last but not least is Yellowstone on the Paramount channel. If you are not watching this, who are you? I mean, what are you doing here? Really? This is a great show. The headliner in it's Kevin Costner. It's about a large ranch in Montana and how all these different corporations are trying to take his land. It's a, I don't know how many 1,000-acre ranch that's in one of the big Montana valleys. And I mean, it's captivating. My wife gripes because she thinks there ought to be 2 episodes a week instead of 1 during the season, and she just can't get enough of it. It is a great show. You need to run over there and check it out. I guarantee you, if you watch 1 episode, you'll go back and figure out how to watch the first 2 seasons. It's that good. So guys, definitely go check out Yellowstone if you're not on that wagon yet. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is vacationing. We are big travelers. We love to travel wherever we can, and we usually just keep it within the United States. I mean, there's so much here that we have not seen. There is so much history in this nation that I'd love to see. My wife would love to see. So right now, the obvious reasons travel's not a good idea. Well, we've been looking at an alternate route. My parents for years have been RVers. They've got a big trailer. They travel. Now they're retired and they might leave for 3 or 4 months at a time. We don't have the money to pull that off. Would love to, but we just can't do it. So what our idea has been is I've been looking at a smaller trailer, nothing real big and fancy, but something big enough that we could stay comfortably in it for 2 or 3 nights. and have been looking at it. If you guys haven't checked into it, it's a good idea simply because you can go out and be in nature. You can still have electricity, air conditioning, plumbing, sewage. I mean, you can have all the amenities of home in a small space. And you know, you hear people say glamping. Well, that's glamping right there. It's really camping without all the worries, I guess. I mean, because you don't have to worry about bugs. It's like a little house. And some people do use these things as small houses, tiny houses. I'm going to tell you firsthand, I couldn't do it all the time, because when I first moved down here, I'm not from this town originally, Sulphur. When I first got on patrol, I got stationed in this county and had to have a place to live. There wasn't any real rental possibilities, and my parents had a big fifth wheel trailer. So we pulled it down here and I lived in it for 9 months. Let me tell you, after 9 months, I was ready to be in a house. That thing got small quick, and it was just me. I don't know how more than one person would live in something that small. I guess we're all just spoiled rotten. And I'm sitting here looking at my camera, and I'm trying to move over a little bit here so you can see my logo back there behind me. This was mentioned by a viewer. Said that I ought to kind of offset myself from my logo so people could see it and they'd know what they were looking at. So I'm going to try that out this week. We'll see how that works out for us. So with that, we've looked at several campers. We haven't been anywhere to physically look at them yet because I'd really have to kind of see how they're put together. We're not looking at anything big. The reasoning behind this, several. One, staying at an RV campground is usually roughly somewhere between $20 and $50 a night. As for your average hotel room, you know, even just a fair one is $100 a night. So for every night you stay there, I can stay at this other one for at least 2 nights. And if it's $20 a night, I get to stay 5 to your 1. That to me is appealing. So if you just want to go set up somewhere and just hang out and check out the countryside, what a cheap vacation. So we're kind of eyeballing that. It's not in the stone yet. And I'm going to tell you, for you guys on YouTube, if that goes down and that takes place, I'll revert back a little bit to my old Uncuffed, the way it used to be on YouTube. And when we go on vacation, I'll video some of it. And I'll put a second video up a week. Y'all can see what we were doing, where we were at. Maybe someplace you want to go visit. Who knows? The second really enticing part of that is, well, I guess there's more than 2, but the second big one for me, you don't have to worry about who cleaned it and how clean it is. So all the stuff that's going on right now, it shouldn't affect you near as much because it's going to be just you, and or in my case, just me and my wife in there. We know who's been in there. The other enticing spot, we can take our dog. Most campgrounds, some have, you know, policies on pets, but a big part of them, your dog's part of your family. You can bring them with you. That's awesome for us. That's huge. Because usually when we travel, we have to have somebody keep our dog. And sadly, you know, you can hear her in some of these podcasts. She's a natural born killer weenie dog, and she doesn't like everybody. The other really appealing aspect of it to me is we can pack it up here and go. Well, when you get there, there's no unpacking. You've got your clothes there. You've got your dishes there. You've got your food in there. I mean, there is a little bit of setup with these things. I've done it enough with my family growing up that I understand what's behind it. And you know, you got 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes of setup, but after you're done that, you're there. You're set up and you've got your home base set up wherever you're at remotely. You know, there's other aspects of it that I'm looking at down the road is maybe adding a little generator, and you can run without power. You can go out in the middle of nowhere and just run without power. You have holding tanks for your sewage. You can have a water tank, and it has a water pump, so it'll give you, you can take a little shower, you can wash your hands. That style is not as appealing to me, simply because that is a lot more work. You have to dump your holding tanks regularly. You have to make sure your water's filled up, and that is a lot more work. So if you could hook in just to a line, hook your sewage in to the ground, you know, great. So if this isn't something you ever really thought about, I'll challenge you to this. Just think of the area you like to visit. Say it's Yellowstone National Park or someplace in Colorado, Tennessee, wherever. Go to that state and just pull up RV parks in Tennessee, for example. You'll be amazed at how many of those things are around. And then jump in there and check out the rates. And then go to the closest town and check out the hotel rates. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. Yeah, you got to pay for the RV. And they're not super cheap. But you can buy a decent new one for less than $20,000. It's not huge. It's not going to be like home. But it's good enough for you to stay in for a few days. And in the end, you're saving money on your stay. Now, you're also going to have to carry insurance. You're going to have to tag it like a car, but the tag on them is not as much as a car. The insurance on them is not as much as a car. You do have to keep that stuff up to date. But if you're somebody that travels enough and you will use it enough, it will pay itself off in the end. And the money side aside, just the other aspects that I mentioned before. We get to take our dog with us. We've got all of our stuff in our drawers. We don't have to pack and unpack every time we leave a room. We don't have to worry about the cleanliness of it. That one's huge to me. And the fact that most of the time when you're doing this stuff, you can be out in nature. You can just be out. You can sit up just like you're camping out and by a campfire. Sit outside at night, look at the stars, whatever you like to do. And now, I'm going to be the first to say, this kind of vacationing is not for everybody. It is more work than actually just getting a hotel room, everything's set up. You know, you got maids and all that stuff. But it's just a different style. I personally enjoy it because you can take as much junk as you want. If you're going to someplace by a lake, take all your fishing gear, pack it in there. Now, if you were doing that in a hotel room, you'd feel odd carrying all your fishing gear up and down stairs, wearing your waders if you're out fly fishing. And you'd feel odd doing that in a hotel. But if you're in that if you're in that trailer, it's normal. I mean, these places, you'll see that all over the place down at the places we usually go. I just think it's an aspect that everybody needs to look at just because the possibilities there are endless. The closeness that you can get to water, to lakes. Everybody wants a mountain home or a lake home or an oceanfront home. If you'll check out RV spots around the nation, you'll find them right on the water, up in the mountains, or right on the ocean. It's just a great possibility. And I've got some friends that they swear by taking cruises. And this couple will know who I'm talking about. They're 905. You'll know what that means. And they go yearly. Now, obviously not this year. I think they just got off one when all this kicked off. But they swear by them up and down. They go every year, sometimes twice a year. And to me, that's just not something that's appealing. But, everybody's different. I've never done it, so maybe I would like it. We just had never found the joy in going and getting on a boat and being confined to a boat for a week. Because usually when we go places, we're not at the hotel room. We're not going to be at the camper. We're going to be out sightseeing. We're going to be out checking out history in the area and seeing what the area has to offer. That's the way we like to vacation. A cruise, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't be against trying it once to see if we were cruisers. I just know the way we vacation, I just don't think it would take. So the other aspect of this, we've been looking at boats for months and months. I actually could say years. I'm just not able to drop $60,000, $70,000 on the boat we want. And you think that I'm looking at something fancy. No. $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 is a brand new pontoon boat. It's not a fancy ski boat, a wakeboard boat, anything like that. A pontoon boat. Now, they are becoming more popular in this area because you see them all over the place. They are more of a comfort boat than a performance boat, but you can fish out of them, and that's the aspect that I like. We want one. I'm just not willing to drop the money for one. And so the reason we're kind of leaning camper now, I can buy a camper for the third of the cost, and the camper can be brand new. You can go look at used stuff. What I know about campers, though, is stuff does break. It's just like a house. And when you're buying into anything used, you're buying into the unknown. I mean, as we all know, you buy a used car, there's no telling what's wrong with it for sure, and whoever you bought it off of is going to bought it off of is going to tell you, oh no, it's a great car, travel's great, da da da. They're probably not going to give you the whole truth, and which always scares me when you buy something used. You do have those people that are just dead honest. Hey, this is what's wrong, this is what's wrong, this is what's wrong. And I appreciate those people. But I'm not willing to take that risk on something like an RV simply because I don't want to get out in the middle of somewhere and the air conditioner stopped working, the water pump stopped working. You know, just stuff like that. Because then your vacations just turn into a repair. You're not having any fun. So that's where we've been leaning lately. We've been looking at a lot of that stuff. And you know, who knows, it may just be a pipe dream for us. We haven't actually gone and looked at them yet. We just looked at them online. And we do like the possibilities. And so, I mean, perhaps down the road, that's something that's going to happen. Other things have been going on. You know, I mean, I guess we're just going stir crazy having to, we don't stay at home all the time. We go to the store when we got to, but we're home more than we used to be because we're not going shopping. We're not taking unneeded trips places just because, you know, you don't want to chance it. So maybe we're just going a little stir crazy and we've been looking at the internet too much. Something I think I mentioned in the past is we're fixing to unplug. We are going to cut the cord to DirecTV and we are going straight streaming. So we're going to use Netflix, Prime, which we've already got, both of those. And I think we're going to go Sling because it carries the Paramount channel, which I mentioned a while ago. So we can always watch Yellowstone. We got to looking at it, you know, we watch the same 3 or 4 channels all week. Literally 3 or 4. You can get it for a third of the cost of what DirecTV charges for their small package. It's crazy. I've talked to several of my friends that have already done this. It's been a home run with them. They said I wouldn't regret it. So you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. And my wife's completely on board. She's ready to do it today. We've already set it up. It'll be the 1st of August when we do this. And I'll, of course, keep you advised of how it's going. I don't see just too many hurdles we got to cross. Somebody had mentioned to me the news, the local news. Well, we live 20 minutes in 2 different directions from 2 different small news stations, so we can get our weather and our local news there. I can get a HD antenna and pick them up. So we're not as concerned about that part of it. So the first blowback I can see on that, somebody saying, well, what about world news? What about national news? How many people actually sit down and watch the national news anymore? I'm like everybody else. I get most of my news off the internet. I wake up in the morning and I have a news app pulled up on my phone where I can check what's going on overnight, where I can see what's going on today. And I do that just about every morning. So I don't have to watch the national news. I don't have to watch world news. I can catch everything I need to know right there. And now granted, you got to be careful of what news you're reading. I try to stick with, you know, the big 3 or 4 and ABC, NBC, CBS, and, you know, CNN some, Fox News some, but, you know, those guys are kind of slanted on their views. Not that CBS and NBC and ABC aren't slanted, but they're just not as hardliners as those other stations. So obviously this is a different kind of podcast than I normally let out. It was just the idea of travel. I'll challenge y'all to something. We've added mine up before. I've been to 18 of the states. I think it's either 18 or 19. I'm beginning to forget. And how many of them you been to? You'd be amazed at the number of people that have been to 5 or 4. I've been fortunate. I've been to 18 of them. I've been as far as Alaska. I've been all the way to the East Coast, all the way up and down the East Coast for a lot of it. South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, Florida. I've been all there. I haven't gone to New England, and I'm not going right now. But I would love to make it up that way just for the history. I mean, the amount of history that's up there, amazing. And if I had to throw you some favorites, Tennessee, love it. Actually really like Arkansas, the mountainous area there. Colorado, I've been all over Colorado. I used to be an avid snow skier until my last snow skiing trip, whenever I was in my 30s, probably late 30s. Been skiing my whole life. Went down a slope that wasn't anything daunting. Took a fall, fell on my arm, and broke 2 ribs in my back. Haven't been back. And as life goes, a few years down the road from that, I blew a knee out at work. So skiing's out. I'm done now. I'm not going to go back and try it simply because I don't want to tear anything else up. These things ache enough as it is, but it's a good time. If you have little ones, oh, I definitely advise going snow skiing. Man, it's so much fun and they get so much joy out of it. The problem you run into with kids, they pick it up faster than you do. They're going to run off and leave you, which is a scary thought these days, I admit. I mean, I wouldn't want my kids taking off and getting out of my sight. You know, on a mountain, there's no stopping. Because they'll be down the mountain back up when you're halfway down the first time. They pick it up quick, but it is a lot of fun. So the crazy thing most of us don't ever do, and I have recently done, you probably really don't know that much about your own state. Just that idea of pulling up RV parks, just pull them up in your state. Look around your state at all the lakes, all the places of interest that are historical that you probably haven't been to. There are still several places in this state that I haven't been to, and I've been to all these other states. So that's something we're looking at. I mean, we're looking at stuff close. We can get there in 2 or 3 hours, go hang out for a couple of days, check out the area, come back home. To me, those are great little vacations, just a little, they call them a staycation here. And you can go down overnight, 2 nights, whatever you like. And there's been times we've taken just day trips and traveled halfway across the state just to go look at an area. And because what people don't really see about Oklahoma, you think we're out in the Great Plains, so everybody thinks we're just a flat state. We actually live in one of the mountain chains in Oklahoma. It's called the Arbuckle Mountains. You go to the eastern part of the state and there's another mountain chain. You go west, there's more mountains. You can go over to Mount Scott, and it's a real rocky, dry area, but it's got its beauty of its own. So there's something else to challenge you with. Just check out your own state. See what other places there are to go, and go check them out. I mean, you can do it in a day, and you'll be amazed at the great places you can find in your own state. And now, I don't know whether this is fortunate or unfortunate. We live in one of the places in our state that is a great place to visit. We've got a national park. We've got a lake that's ran by the Park Service. We've got a natural waterfall called Turner Falls. You can actually pull most of this stuff up on Google. Our lake's called Chickasaw National Park. It used to be Platte National Park. Arbuckle Lake, right there beside it. It's not a huge lake, it's a man-made lake, but it's a beautiful little lake nonetheless. And then Turner Falls over by Davis. You can pull that one up. It is a natural water park. It is amazing. The waterfalls in it. It's a cool area. Now, it is highly touristy. I'm going to warn you that. During the summer, that place fills up to the point they have a capacity line and they close it. And that's almost every day during the summer that they have to end up closing it. My point being, you can just check out the area you live in. You probably can find a ton of stuff to go do, probably for a small amount of money. Not much at all. And without going deep into it, you can still keep your social distance. And you can still enjoy yourself with you and your family. I mean, I definitely recommend it. We do that as much as possible, and we're going to continue to do it. So guys, this is going to be a little shorter than normal. I just wanted to keep this one light. I didn't want to delve off into the news, the law enforcement, the pandemic, all that stuff. I wanted to kind of stay away from it and just give you a lighter podcast today and just give you some ideas to get out there, enjoy our country. So guys, that's going to be it for this one. Don't forget to go check out Smokey CNC Woodworks, and please don't forget about Smokey Uncuffed. You can find me at www.smokeyuncuffed.com. You can drop me an email on there. You can also find me an email on smokeyuncuffed@gmail.com. Shoot me a message, ask me a question, tell me what you think about all this travel talk. And don't forget about me at Smokey Uncuffed on YouTube. You can go over there and check this video out, see how I'm talking. You can watch all my crazy hand gestures that I'm always doing when I'm talking. And you can also check out some other content on there. I mean, I've got some past videos that were travel, showing you around the area I live in, the national park, Turner Falls, the lake. I've showed different things on there before, kind of got away from that, went to the podcast format. So I was just thinking about it. So if we do start traveling pretty good again, I'll just drop an extra video on YouTube. I mean, it's not going to help out the podcast world, but you could go see what I did on YouTube. So guys, that's going to be it for today. If y'all hadn't done so yet, please subscribe. And I'll see y'all and hear y'all next time.